It was 1 year ago today, an explosion on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico triggered the worst offshore oil spill in our nation's history. 11 men were killed in that blast. Over the next 85 days, 206 million gallons of oil spilled into the Gulf from the broken well, 19 times more than the Exxon Valdez spill. Oil giant BP spent billions of dollars cleaning up the mess. Today marks the first anniversary of that Gulf oil spill crisis. And while Florida's beaches have been cleaned up, many swamps are still a mess. An untold amount of oil sits at the bottom of the Gulf, and litigation and lawsuits are far from over. Our Brendan McLaughlin is live at Pensacola Beach with more on this. He continues our in-depth coverage of the disaster. Good evening, Brendan.
Hi, Wendy. It just so happens Governor Rick Scott was here today on a two-day tour of the Gulf. He's here really celebrating a remarkable comeback story, justifiably so, because the business in this community here at Pensacola Beach is up 15% over what it was before the spill, so they have a lot to celebrate. But I'll tell you, the locals will tell you that these folks on the beach and frolicking in the waves do not compensate you for what you lost over the last year, and they do not guarantee that the effects of this oil won't come to haunt you in the future. It doesn't mean that the oil is gone for good, that's for sure. Now, the 5-minute walk down Pensacola Beach with local business and civic leaders was strictly a photo op, but we went along anyway. Kind of overdressed, Governor, aren't we?
I know. At least we don't have ties on.
Governor Scott is on a two-day tour of the Panhandle, touting the cleanliness of our beaches and the quality of our water and seafood. Business is up, but business people like Captain Ronnie Hogue remain worried.
Ever since the blowout, the main word is, I don't know.
For one thing, Captain Hogue doesn't know why BP is offering to settle for $25,000 when he believes his losses on his three-boat charter company is 20 times that. Have you successfully made a claim yourself?
Yes, and it just wasn't even, it was almost a joke.
I asked the governor about Ronnie Hogue. How would you help people that feel like they're being pressured to settle for far less than they lost over the last year?
I think you've got to be careful not to be pressured. Doug Darling in my office is working directly with Ken Feinberg and BP. Let us know. Our goal is hopefully we can work with BP without litigation.
Which raised another question. Why did the governor opt out of a federal lawsuit against BP's rig operator, Transocean?
Litigation is extremely expensive. You don't know what the result's going to be. If we can come to a resolution without litigation, that's what I would like to do.
Well, some people say not suing Transocean could be very expensive for the people who feel they need to be compensated. And for the record, Louisiana and Alabama and dozens of cities and counties, municipalities are joining in that lawsuit with the understanding that they can also pursue their own independent lawsuit, as the governor is doing. So people are still sort of trying to find the upside to opting out of that federal lawsuit. Now, 1 year after the spill, BP has gone certainly from an emergency response mode to a recovery and a reimbursement mode. But science is a key to this. It's going to be a key to this for a long time. It's going to let us know how serious the ramifications of this are. The University of South Florida has got scientists working on some very exciting projects that will answer some of these questions. Our Carson Chambers has an in-depth look at that part of the story.
When the green light is glowing in this University of South Florida lab.
This is from a gag grouper.
Graduate student Mark Squitieri is at work.
Each one of the very smallest rings you can see here corresponds to a day of this fish's life.
Squitieri is researching fish samples from the Gulf oil spill 1 year ago.
These are fish ear bones that have been cut into thin sections.
Just like tree rings, the bone slivers are a permanent record of water chemistry the fish swam through, including markers of oil.
We've collected fish from all over the Gulf of Mexico, some of them from fairly near the Deepwater Horizon wellhead.
Dr. Ernst Peebles says their research has found signatures of oil in the fish and will help them identify the species most harmed by the spill.
We're looking to see if the growth rates of the fish changed upon exposure to oil.
USF's College of Marine Science has been a worldwide leader in the science, unlocking secrets to Gulf restoration. 1 year later, these projects are still unfolding in St. Petersburg.
At the time of the BP spill, there were no models that linked directly the coastal ocean with the estuaries.
Now Dr. Robert Weisberg has improved ocean current models to track future spills. BP pledged $500 million over 10 years for independent research like this. USF received $10 million so far, but was promised $50. In January, new deadlines for new project applications came and went, leaving scientists in limbo.
Most people have spent their money, so for the next few months to maybe next spring or so, there's no money out there to do this work. You know, it's a critical time period.
We sat down with BP Representative Keith Rupp to ask him about the stalled funding.
I know this is something new that's been created, and there's probably some growing pains going on in there.
Rupp tells me BP will keep its promise, but he couldn't give us a timeline when. Back in the USF lab, the green light is glowing. A beacon of hope that science will one day lead to Gulf restoration. In St. Petersburg, I'm Carson Chambers, ABC Action News.
You know, federal studies and BP both claim that the beaches in Florida are essentially clean, and I can tell you they look pretty clean to me as well. But coming up tonight at 11, we'll prove to you that there still is oil in that sand. Tonight at 11, our Carson Chambers goes out with a USF scientist to see what you can't see with the naked eye. Take a look at what this ultraviolet light does when it is shined on the sand at night. It actually glows orange where there is oil. Now the question is, after you see this, is why has that oil not been cleaned up? We will explain tonight on ABC Action News at 11. And we should also not forget to mention the fact that this anniversary is also a somber and tragic one for 11 families. 11 men were killed when the rig blew up. We understand that their families were taken, courtesy of BP, on helicopters out to the site of the Deepwater Horizon rig to do a few circles around that and fly back home.